Tonight, tributes for Tegan, a friend of the Port Augusta woman who died inside her squalid home, leaps to her family's defence.
Dragged unconscious from his burning car on West Terrace, the graphic images an Adelaide crash survivor wants you to see.
Hot and dangerous. Authorities bring SA's fire danger season forward. Locals urge to prepare now.
Roads turn into rivers as Spain is obliterated by flash floods.
And trick or treat, Adelaide puts on a show for Halloween.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News with Rosanna Mangiarelli and Will Goodings.
Good evening. 7 News can reveal a disabled woman at the centre of a criminal neglect case in Port Augusta defied the odds to live past 16, only to die in horrific circumstances.
Friends have defended her family, saying they're shocked to hear the bright and bubbly 26-year-old had been living in squalor.
Tegan Fredericks wasn't expected to survive past her teenage years, but despite her severe physical and intellectual disabilities, she lived a decade longer.
Oh, she was bright and happy. It's not a problem. Every time she sees you, big smile, big hug. You know, she had lots of fun and character.
Only to die in tragic circumstances. Major Crime Police today returned to her Port Augusta home where she lived with her mother. She was discovered with infected and open sores and wounds by paramedics after suffering a fall here last week. The 26-year-old died in hospital on Monday and police suspect criminal neglect. But close family friend Graham Fisher says she comes from a loving family.
I was totally shocked because when the policeman said, she's living in a swallow. I went, swallow, you know.
Her sister lives right next door and today returned home.
Did you want to say anything for Tegan?
The extent of the filth inside will form part of this investigation. Officers here were visibly impacted by the stench. Inside the front entrance are large piles of rubbish, food scraps and what appear to be animal faeces.
Detectives say there was no NDIS plan for Tegan and no current care plan.
In 2017, there was an initial expression of interest to be on the scheme. Then documentation was sent back and then nothing more was ever heard.
Her case has similarities and stark differences to that of Annie Smith, who died in 2020. She lived with cerebral palsy, was on NDIS and did have a full-time carer who was sentenced to 6 years jail for manslaughter. It could take months to prove if Tegan's tragic death was avoidable.
So I think they're very heartbroken, the whole family, and a lot of the people that knew Tegan definitely heartbroken.
Hannah Ford, 7 News.
An infant who was rushed to hospital after a freak fall at Mount Compass is believed to be no longer critical. It's understood the baby girl was being pushed in a pram by a young sibling when the accident happened shortly before 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Specialist emergency crews raced to the scene and worked on the child before she was airlifted to Adelaide.
Now to a developing story, and a former Adelaide school teacher accused of stalking is about to walk from the women's prison, allowed to return home while she awaits trial. Let's go straight live to Lauren Rose. Lauren, she spent the past 10 days behind bars.
She has, Will. Her home detention bail was revoked after reports she'd harassed her alleged victims online. 25-year-old Elia Papalo is facing charges of stalking 2 men she'd previously dated, as well as one of their new partners and sisters. The prosecutor said what she's accused of doing has been insidious, invasive and unable to be escaped from. Despite that, Papalo can return to live with her family, but no one in her household is allowed to have any devices capable of connecting to the internet. And Rosanna, she'll return to court for a pre-trial hearing next month.
All right, thank you, Lauren. A disgraced independent MP found guilty of fraud has successfully delayed his sentence and will now be able to retain his seat in Parliament until at least May. Fraser Ellis says he'll also be able to spend Christmas at home with his family in peace.
Fraser Ellis was found guilty at trial of 4 counts of deception. In a nutshell, he claimed the country member's accommodation allowance for nights he didn't spend in Adelaide between 2018 and 2020. Both he and prosecutors are appealing the verdicts, and today his lawyers asked for a further delay in the sentencing process, effectively keeping him in his seat until at least May next year.
It'd be nice to have Christmas in peace with the family, and look forward to coming back next year and having my appeal heard and hopefully succeeding.
The 32-year-old former Liberal and now independent MP says his top priority is to continue to represent the people of Narungga on York Peninsula, dismissing the court process as...
And this is just a sideshow that I have to attend to every now and then.
If Ellis loses his appeal, he'll be expelled from Parliament and lose his seat.
The appeal process will take its course. I'm confident that we'll put a good argument forward, and I think delaying sentencing is a sensible decision.
Arguing if the guilty verdicts are overturned on appeal,
it prevents an outcome being achieved before it's necessary.
Fraser Ellis has also asked to have his bail conditions varied to allow him to travel interstate for parliamentary business. Deanna Williams, 7 News.
To some breaking news now, and an Adelaide woman is tonight fighting for life after being struck down with invasive meningococcal disease. The woman in her 30s is in a critical condition in hospital. SA Health has identified a number of close contacts and 5 people have been prescribed antibiotics to try to prevent further spread.
South Australians are being warned to prepare for a dangerous and potentially fatal bushfire season. Michaela Kamarek's at Mount Lofty Summit for us. Michaela, it's prompted authorities to start the fire danger season early.
Yeah, that's right, Rosanna. It's been brought forward in nearly half of the state's 15 fire-ban districts, including here in the Hills. The Weather Bureau is predicting hot and dry conditions over the coming months. That, combined with high fuel loads, has alarm bells ringing. The fire danger season, as a result, will start 2 weeks early on November 15 in the metro area, Mount Lofty Ranges and Kangaroo Island. The danger season is already in place in 5 other districts across the state, and come tomorrow a further 6.
We're going to see the first real evidence of that risk this weekend with hot and windy conditions on Saturday, where we'll see numerous areas with total fire bans likely.
We know that we are facing a hotter and drier bushfire season. There has not been additional substantial rain, and so conditions are going to be very, very tough this fire season.
Now, that increased risk has prompted authorities to roll out a new Be Bushfire Ready campaign. Residents are being urged to have their fire safety plans in place. Properties should also be inspected with gutters cleaned and gardens maintained. Now, the simple message really is to prepare now before it's too late.
All right, thank you for that, Michaela. An Adelaide journalist who suffered lifelong injuries when a drugged and speeding driver slammed into his car wants people to see the moment he was pulled unconscious from his burning vehicle. Ben Hyde hopes the graphic images will make people think twice before they get behind the wheel.
A crumpled car in the middle of West Terrace, its driver unconscious behind the wheel.
Okay, tell me exactly what's happened. Yeah. 2 big waxes.
These are the remarkable moments police pulled Ben Hyde from the wreckage, with the clock ticking.
My car was literally on fire. I was on fire.
The Advertiser's deputy editor was on his way home from work when a drugged driver travelling at 170 k's an hour slammed into the back of his car. He'd go on to spend a month in hospital.
The major crash officers who investigated the crash said it was the highest speed crash that they had attended.
What the 37-year-old now grapples with the most is what he calls his invisible injury, the lasting impacts of the brain trauma he suffered, the characteristics he once prided himself on, like calmness under pressure and quick decision-making, gone.
I can't see it. I can feel it. I feel it all the time.
3 years on from the crash that would change Ben and his loved ones' lives forever, he's sharing his story to thank all of the first responders who saved him here that night and to remind road users that driving is a privilege and not a right.
And then, you know, if anyone can take a level of hope or inspiration out of it, if they're faced with some adversity too, then that'd also be great.
Ben's been working with his Advertiser colleagues on a documentary about his survival. While I Was Sleeping is online now. Lauren Rose, 7 News.
It was a scary start to Halloween when an alleged sword-wielding drug dealer was chased by police through Salisbury. Officers pounced on the suspect, who dumped his ute, jumped fences and attempted to hide in a stranger's backyard.
Dramatic security vision captures the moment police swoop on the suspect.
Just frightened the bejesus out of me, yeah. I'm still a little bit shaken, to be honest, yeah.
The lady who lives there spotted the intruder in her backyard.
I screamed, he lifted up the roller door and ran to then be captured from the police at the front of the property.
Moments before, they had tried to stop his white Holden ute on Commercial Road, but he sped off and dumped it next to a roundabout on the corner of Fendon Road and Ponton Street. Residents watched as multiple officers chased the suspect, who was jumping fences.
My wife kind of took the initiative. She whipped open the front door and was like, "Hey, what is going, what?" You know? And they're like, "We're the police." Okay, the police, yeah.
It's Halloween, and we got a fright last night, let me tell you. So I think we're good for today. Hopefully it's a very calming, October 31st, but yeah.
When police searched the ute, they allegedly found a quantity of heroin, methamphetamine and a small sword. The Salisbury East man was directed to submit an oral drug test, which he refused. The suspect's facing a string of charges, including dangerous driving to escape a police pursuit, trafficking a controlled drug and possession of a prohibited weapon. The 46-year-old instantly lost his licence for 6 months and his ute has been impounded. Peter Caldecott, 7 News.
The parents of 11-year-old Jack Davey have delivered a moving tribute to their son after he was run down with a group of friends in a Melbourne schoolyard earlier this week. Tragically, Jack couldn't be saved, and today his mum and dad called him their champion.
Their grief is unimaginable.
We are overwhelmed.
But somehow they found the courage to honour their little boy.
Words can't adequately describe the utter devastation we feel as we come to terms with the sudden, overwhelming loss of our Jack. Son, brother and friend to many.
Dad Michael, Mum Jade and his sisters wearing the colours of his basketball team.
Personally, he is our champion. He is our beloved son and brother who remains very much alive in our hearts and memories as we piece together our lives with his spirit going forward.
11-year-old Jack was sitting with friends in the playground when an out-of-control car sped towards them.
We wish to extend our love and wishes to Jack's beautiful friends who were injured in the accident and to their families.
As Victoria's Premier visited today, news that one of the 4 other children injured is now out of hospital, and it's the medics there this family wants to thank the most.
We extend thanks to the unbelievable staff at the Royal Children's Hospital who did their job so amazingly, providing Jack with life and sustaining his life for as long as they could. Their compassion and humanity in our darkest hour will never be forgotten.
We now know the first person to reach Jack was a staff member, a former trauma nurse, who comforted him until more help arrived.
Our heartfelt thanks to Millie, the Auburn South school receptionist, who stayed with Jack, providing comfort the entire time. Our words are inadequate.
And as a community mourns, the police have now revealed they're performing a complete mechanical reconstruction of the car to recreate the accident and see if their version matches the driver's account. This broken family may be harder to rebuild. Chris Reason, 7 News.
A massive fire has ripped through the UK's nuclear submarine manufacturing facility. The BAE Systems shipyard is where the first of the AUKUS submarines are due to roll off the production line late next decade. Some experts claim the blaze will delay that plan.
And it'll delay the UK's other submarine program, the large Dreadnought class. And these have to be built before SSN AUKUS can be built. So it's like a domino effect.
But Britain's High Commissioner says it won't disrupt AUKUS.
The worst natural disaster in Spain's modern history is still unfolding tonight after deadly floods tore through the country's southeast.
At least 95 people have been swept to their deaths, with many drivers unable to escape the fierce wall of water.
An ocean of floodwater swallows everything.
These cars tossed like toys, the deluge roaring through towns around the Spanish city of Valencia. Some communities simply washing away. Rescue crews were able to reach this woman and her dog winched from the front door to safety. So many weren't so lucky. Tsunami-like water catching drivers off guard. A year's worth of rain falling in just 8 hours. Floodwaters soon rising hard and fast. This was the devastating aftermath in the regional capital. Population 800,000. We lost everything, this woman says. The water was up to 2 metres high. In darkness, thermal imaging cameras were needed to find those in desperate need of help. As the downpour dies down and floodwaters recede, it reveals the catastrophic level of damage playing out all across Valencia. This is one example. Car after car after car after car stacked on top of one another, illustrating the force of these floodwaters that have left a 2,000-year-old city unrecognisable. With a massive clean-up job ahead in some parts, Spain's Prime Minister warned the storm continues to wreak havoc with more bad weather forecasts. The death toll is expected to rise, the water having filled entire homes. Recovery crews are going house to house, car to car, the grim aftermath of Mother Nature's sheer force. In Valencia, Ben Downey, 7 News.
Well, those pictures are just extraordinary, aren't they? Now, let's turn back home where thousands of South Australians are hitting the streets tonight on the hunt for the best trick-or-treat haunts. Casey joins us from Lightsview, where there's plenty of family-friendly Halloween fun going on.
Guys, the trick-or-treating at this community-run event has become so popular. They're expecting more than 5,000 local people to come through. Now, the Northeast Community House and Lightsview Rotary Club has joined forces to put on the festivities here. And, of course, the turnout is exceeding all expectations. There's families here dressed to the nines. They're collecting treats, playing lawn games. There's popcorn too. And for the little ones, there's even free face painting on offer if you're happy to line up.
It's a fun night, and you can see by everyone's costumes that everyone's really made an effort.
I'm a devil, she's a creepy doll, and she is Minnie.
We got some gummy worms, some Tic Tac. Happy Halloween!
Now, not just here at Lightsview, there's haunted houses dotted right across Adelaide tonight, from Salisbury East to Westbourne Park, scaring their guests. They're flooded with thousands of trick-or-treaters out and about, and we've got near-perfect weather conditions for it tonight. We are in for some spring heat in the next few days, though. I'll have more details on that in the full forecast later this hour.
What a perfect night for it as well. It looks like a hell of a lot of fun out there.
So much fun.
Go and get some chockies on the way home.
We could all do it.
You go as Graham Goodings, you go as Jane Doyle, and I'll go as Bruce Abernathy.
When the makeup comes off, it is a horror show. So don't worry about that. What's coming up in sports, Soda?
Well, the auditions continue for a spot at the top of the Aussie Test order. 3 of the contenders have failed against India A, with the South Aussie skipper at the crease in control of his own destiny at the moment. And ready to follow in his dad's boots, the Crows have given teenager Tyler Welsh the stamp of approval. And the Dodgers take the World Series with a stunning comeback in Game 5 against the Yankees. All that and plenty more coming up shortly.
We look forward to it. Thank you, Soda. Now next, the MP travel perk saga deepens. Now the opposition leader's forced to defend his use of Gina Rinehart's private plane.
Also, Adelaide Zoo says goodbye to its beloved meerkat with a cult following.
Donald Trump trashes the Democrats after a messy Joe Biden blunder.
And why it's crucial to make sure your trampoline is tied down. Adelaide Zoo has said goodbye to one of its most beloved residents. Snowy the meerkat developed a cult following and earned the nickname Michael Jackson because of a rare condition that turned her fur white. She lived to the grand old age of 14, well beyond what was expected, but the quality of life had taken a turn, and earlier today Snowy was put to sleep. It's been a tough few weeks for the zoo, still grieving the recent loss of its 2 beloved African lions, Amani and Mujambi.
After attacking the Prime Minister all week, the opposition is on the back foot tonight over the travel perks saga. Peter Dutton has been forced to defend his free use of Gina Rinehart's private plane and the reputation of a shadow minister.
At an IGA in WA, checking out the checkout, as he's forced to double-check flights he took on mining billionaire Gina Rinehart's private jet.
That was at zero cost to the taxpayer.
Admitting his office did ask for him to use her jet in 2022 to fly from Rockhampton to a Bali bombing memorial in Sydney and back to Mackay. He says because the government denied him a RAF jet. Asked if he could see a conflict of interest.
No, I can't, I'm sorry.
And defending his shadow Transport Minister Bridget McKenzie, while attacking Prime Minister Anthony Albanese over upgrades he disclosed, she originally denied accepting any herself, then admitted one, and has now asked Qantas, Virgin and Rex whether there are more she's forgotten.
If there are inconsistencies with my public declarations, I will absolutely make those changes.
And if she has broken Parliament's disclosure rules...
Will you sack her from your front? No, I won't.
That as Labor MPs privately asked why it took 4 long, damaging days for Anthony Albanese to finally declare he did not ask former CEO Alan Joyce or any other Qantas employee for flight upgrades.
It's a communication plane crash, so to speak.
A photo emerging today of Peter Dutton lunching recently with journalist Joe Aston, author of the now rejected claims against the Prime Minister.
Joe I've known for a long time, as I've known obviously a lot of journalists.
Oppositions need to be very careful about playing the man.
Likening this to the so-called Utegate attacks on Kevin Rudd, later exposed as bogus. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Donald Trump has seized on comments from Joe Biden, who described Trump supporters as garbage.
Instead of hitting back, the Republican hopeful arrived at a rally in a rubbish truck.
Not one to waste an opportunity.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honour of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Donald Trump arriving in Wisconsin after the US president trash talk diehard Republicans.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
And it's left a mess for his deputy.
I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
They treat you like garbage. They treat our whole country like garbage.
Trump seizing on the comments but overlooking his own long history of divisive takedowns.
This is a sick group of people, I'm telling you. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage.
Please welcome the President of the United States and First Lady Jill Biden.
As President Biden found himself even further alienated from the Harris campaign in the dying days of this election season.
For the next President of the United States.
Final endorsements keep coming. Lifelong Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger, the latest. The Governator shunning Trump's claims the US has become a trash can for the world. He's now backing Harris. Celebrities, though, won't swing this race, but a tiny pocket of Wisconsin just may hold all the answers.
I think he's hardworking and he's really out for the average person.
In Door County, picking presidents is what they do best.
Yeah, I can't trust either one of them.
The region holds the national distinction of siding with every White House winner since George W. Bush in 2000. Battle lines in Door County could not be clearer. Take these neighbours, for instance. Proud Donald Trump supporters just here, Kamala Harris supporters just next door. But the truth is, most voters here in this region now just want this election over with.
I don't think we're going to move the needle at this point anymore, so I don't think it's worth the conversation anymore. I'm ready for it to be done.
In Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, David Woywood, 7 News.
This Sunday night, join Michael Usher for a special edition of Spotlight covering the race to the White House, and Seven's live coverage of the US presidential election count begins at 11:30 Wednesday morning. A Sydney mother has had a real shock while driving when a trampoline flew off a ute, smashing into her car. It happened last Friday with the ute driver leaving the scene while others stopped to help. The mum says her windscreen mirror and roof were damaged, but she's just glad her kids weren't in the car.
Very lucky. Well, next, why long COVID patients are experiencing ongoing cardiovascular issues, the Aussie research.
Plus, unclaimed Medicare benefits, how to find out if you are eligible.
Now, check your kids' trick-or-treat stash, how to avoid a horror story this Halloween.
And he's no snake catcher, but he got the job done. How a Sellex man got this beachgoer to move along. Outspoken pro-life advocate Joanna Howe has been banned from parts of state parliament over claims she threatened and intimidated MPs ahead of an abortion vote. The Adelaide University professor will no longer be allowed in the upper house galleries, corridors and other shared areas around the chamber. The restriction was announced this afternoon following several complaints. Dr Howe is calling it a massive affront to democracy.
I've just been banned from the SA Parliament by Terry Stevens, the President, supported by a cabal of pro-abortion MPs who don't agree with my position of banning abortion in the third trimester and want to see my voice silenced. This is an absolutely outrageous decision.
She's calling for the Premier to intervene.
More than $240 million in unclaimed Medicare benefits is ready to be paid. Money is owed to more than 930,000 Australians who haven't provided their current bank details to Medicare.
People should go to the MyGov website or the MyGov app, link up their Medicare card to their MyGov account, and then make sure that the bank details are up to date.
The average Australian with unpaid benefits is owed $260.
Woolworths executives have faced off with shareholders as the supermarket giant defended its reputation at the company's annual general meeting today. The company's chairman rejecting claims it misled customers.
AGM anger.
Woolworths, stop selling extinction.
Outside, shareholders take aim at Woolworths' environmental record.
It is time for them to stop selling extinction.
Inside, at its financial record.
You could fly over to England and go to Sainsbury's or Tesco's and buy your Tim Tams or Vegemite far cheaper than you can buy them in Woolworths.
The board slammed for slugging customers.
I am acutely aware of the pressure on Australians.
While announcing a profit warning for shareholders.
The Australian grocery sector has never been more competitive.
While Woolworths had headaches here today, the main concern for both it and Coles is upcoming legal action in the federal court.
The chairman rejecting the ACCC's claim the supermarkets fooled customers with fake discounts.
We disagree with their assessment that the price dropped program was misleading.
As competitor Coles announced, some prices actually are coming down. Cheaper livestock seeing cheaper meat, some dairies down, particularly cheese. Drops too in the cleaning, laundry, health and beauty aisles, but on average price
It's the end of an era for the Adelaide Festival Centre. After almost 19 years, its CEO and artistic director, Douglas Gautier, is retiring for his successor will begin in coming months.
Australian researchers have uncovered why long COVID patients experience ongoing cardiovascular issues. Samantha Heathwood explains.
65 million people around the world suffer from long COVID, with many experiencing ongoing participants who either suffered long COVID for more than a year, had recovered from COVID or never had the virus. They grew these heart cells in the lab, then tested the blood samples' impact on the cells. The blood from long COVID patients badly damaged the cells, which are responsible for the heart's pump action and can lead to cardiovascular symptoms, while the blood from the other participants had no impact. Researchers will now apply these findings to other symptoms of long COVID, such as neurological or respiratory diseases.
A baby brown snake has slithered onto the sand at Selleck's Beach, prompting one local to spring into action. He ran to his truck to get a dustpan and a beach towel before moving the snake to a safer location. Certainly braver than most. Good job.
It's unconventional, but obviously effective. Well, sickness has forced a last-minute band reshuffle for Coldplay on night one of their Aussie tour. That's coming up next.
Also, the new button battery warning as Adelaide comes alive for Halloween.
And the Aussie pub almost down to their last glass. Next, the case of the disappearing schooners. One of the most treacherous roads in the Adelaide foothills has finally been upgraded after a 10-year campaign by locals. More than $10 million has been spent making Main Road at Cherry Gardens safe, but not before dozens of serious crashes, including a fatality. The state government promised to fix the problem at the last election.
We've seen an improved surface, new safety barriers, which really protect the really hazardous roadside environment that we see along Main Road.
The road is now open, although finishing touches will take a few more months.
Mega band Coldplay has been derailed by a health emergency just minutes before its first Australian concert was about to kick off at Marvel Stadium. Bass player Guy Berryman fell violently ill backstage, sparking a reshuffle.
Night one of Coldplay's Australian tour, the very definition of the show must go on.
Our beautiful bass player Guy is very, very sick. I'm sorry for all of you guys down here who are waiting to see Guy. He's not going to be able to play today.
Taking to the stage without their full lineup for the first time in the band's history, their engineers stepped up with just 30 minutes notice.
So you'll hear Guy, but you just won't see him because he's vomiting.
Powered by renewable energy and fueled by a determination to deliver, they managed a performance that was out of this world.
I suspect the other members of the group really were working overtime to try and compensate, to try and override any disappointment.
Let's play this for Shane and his family, okay?
There was an emotional dedication to Chris Martin's close friend, the late Shane Warne, and a special guest spotted in the audience, a Melbourne family starstruck by the original Karate Kid. Guy Berryman doesn't
Hopefully everyone is together tonight and we get to enjoy.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Well, now here's Ned McHenry with the catch of the day.
Next to me is Jared. Now, he runs Southern Fishing Charters. It has to be one of the best fishing charters in the state, and we learnt that today, mate. We had the privilege of taking 20 people out on an SA fishing trip of a lifetime. Guys, how'd you go? Fantastic. All right, let's see what you all caught this week.
Ruben got some nice squid this week at Merino Rocks. Isaac got a beauty on the York Peninsula, while Holly, she got her first near Robe. Kai, Finn and Huey, well, they made light work of the carp at Lake Bonnie. Henry shared some salmon and whiting from Point Turton. Lockie, he found a salmon at West Lakes. Nathan got a school shark down at Port Macdonald. Flynn, he got a gummy shark off the beach there too. And I just had to share this. That was Peter's first ever catch on board our trip this week, and what an effort it was with some beautiful nanagai.
Great photos as always. We had an awesome day today. How do we get in touch with you if we want to get on board?
The best way to get in touch with us is either by Facebook or our website online on southernfishingcharters.com.au.
Fantastic. Southern Fishing Charters, they're an awesome charter. Jump on board. We'll see you next week.
Looks like lots of fun. Thank you, Ned. Now, on this Halloween night, there are plenty of spooks and scares, but could there be anything more frightening than a pub with no beer? This Brisbane watering hole is threatening to stop service unless drinkers stop stealing its glasses and mugs.
I've definitely been to one of my friends' place, not mentioning any names, Benny White. I've seen about at least 30 glasses piled up in his cupboards.
The publican who's declared a glassware amnesty claims he's losing up to $300 during the busy weeks. I was going to say, someone has to have a collection of them.
Yeah, well, fair enough too. Time for sport now, and Soda, there's been some missed opportunities with the audition for test spots going on.
Yeah, there's that opener spot waiting there. 3 out of 4 have failed so far. And coming up, SA skipper Nathan McSweeney's destiny is in his own hands as he looks to prove he's the man for the job. The Crows give the son of a forward gun the chance to follow in his dad's footsteps. And it'll be party time in LA. The Dodgers sink the Yankees to take the World Series. Hello again. The vacant test opening spot is there for the taking for SA skipper Nathan McSweeney, who's in the midst of the most important innings of his career. The 25-year-old is 29 not out in Australia A's tour match against India A, where all the other contenders failed.
With 4 batsmen gunning for one test spot, it was an anticlimactic start in Mackay after skipper Nathan McSweeney won the toss and sent the tourists in. It proved the right call. SA quick Brendan Doggett took career best figures of 6 for 15 as India A was rolled for just 107. It brought 19-year-old prodigy Sam Constance to the crease after twin tons in the opening Shield game against SA.
Edged and out, so Constance is gone. Third ball duck for the youngster.
Batting at 3, Cameron Bancroft suffered the same fate.
Caught down leg side, given. Oh, and Bancroft is furious.
While opener Marcus Harris rode his luck before throwing away his wicket for 17.
Oh, it's dead. Gone. It's a poor shot from Harris. Just wafted the bat out there and just steered it to second slip.
Coming in at 4 in tough batting conditions, McSweeney took his time and showed the composure required at the top level. 29 not out at stumps and a golden...
Albeit at the end of the second Australia A game.
The question is he ready to play? Yeah, I think he is. His technique, he's gotten better and better over the last 2 or 3, if not 4 years, so I definitely think he can handle it.
Tom Wilson, 7 News.
Adelaide has officially nominated forward Tyler Welsh as a father-son prospect ahead of next month's draft. Son of former marksman Scott, the 18-year-old spent last season with the Crows Sandful side and kicked 10 goals in his 10 games. And Luke Edwards, son of another Crows legend, Tyson, is stepping away from footy due to concussion. Drafted in 2020, the 22-year-old played 37 games for the Eagles. Melbourne CEO Gary Pert has sensationally stepped down and will finish up at the end of the year. Meanwhile, star Christian Petrarca has overcome some physical and mental hurdles following his brutal internal injury suffered on the King's birthday weekend. Today, he was back at Flemington ahead of the Melbourne Cup after a training block in Austria.
Obviously with my injury, obviously had a compromised year, so to get over there and train and was just amazing. I'm in a really good headspace with everything and just excited for day one of pre-season. So it comes around quick. I mean, we're November tomorrow, so yeah, pre-season's in a few weeks, which will be good.
It'd be good to see him back now after a dream AFLW debut. Power midfielder Jo Miller is now on the verge of her first finals campaign. Playing in a new role up forward in the win over the Suns, Miller kicked the first and last goals of the game, surprising even herself.
Well, the first emotion was pure shock because I'm not a goal kicker. Track record says that I shouldn't be getting the ball through the big sticks. But no, it was an amazing moment.
Port hosts the Giants in the final game of the home and away season before embarking on its first ever finals campaign. Adelaide 36ers coach Mike Wells says he'll give Isaac Humphries right up until the last moment to prove he's ready to face the Breakers on Saturday. Boasting some star imports, the Sixers are looking to keep their hot streak going across the ditch.
After monstering the Taipans, Montrezl Harrell's a tough act for anyone to follow. The big man was on media duties yesterday. Today, the coach.
I am the opening act. That is the main act. Have you guys ever been to a concert? Coldplay doesn't come on first.
Isaac Humphries will follow his team to New Zealand, but battling calf tightness, a call on his availability will be left until game time on Saturday night.
Always kind of a tricky deal. Those guys will make the final call. We definitely don't want to... In a short season with few games, we got to make sure that we are on the side of caution.
5 wins in their last 6 have propelled the Sixers into 4th, but the last 2 victories have required substantial comebacks.
We definitely cannot play 20 minutes over in New Zealand on a road game, and with their great crowd and the fan support and everything. So hopefully we can figure out the right rhythm to start the game a little bit sooner.
Josh Money, 7 News.
Leading trainer James Cummings is hopeful Zardozi will make a statement on a return to Flemington. The 4-year-old mare will have a final hit out in the Empire Rose Stakes on Saturday before lining up in the Melbourne Cup.
To see Zardozi have a really good gallop on the weekend ahead of the Melbourne Cup would be a really good lead up in my eyes.
With international favourite Jan Bruegel and Via Sistina ruled out, Chris Waller's Buckaroo is now the outright Cup favourite. And finally, the Dodgers are Major League Baseball's World Series champions. They were 5-0 down against the Yankees in Game 5. The Dodgers launched an amazing comeback and got up 7-6.
Strikes out swinging! Walker Buehler does it, and the Dodgers celebrate. They are the 2024 World Series champions.
Freddie Freeman, who smacked 4 home runs, was crowned MVP. That is our look at sports. I think that's 8 world titles for them. Still 27 for the Yankees, a long way behind. But Sunset Strip will be the place to be, I reckon, over the next few days. It'll be crazy,
Nuts. Thank you so much, Soda. Now, with thousands of trick-or-treaters pounding the pavement tonight, authorities are urging parents to keep a close eye on what they collect along the way.
The state's consumer watchdog says there's been a surge in potentially dangerous toys and costumes.
It's the night that promises to give you a fright.
Watch your step. I wouldn't want you to break a bone.
But it's what's lurking inside some of the costumes and decorations that's really scaring authorities.
Each year we do see a number of toys that contain these button batteries that have been given out to young children at Halloween.
The state's consumer watchdog has uncovered a spike in popular but potentially dangerous Halloween accessories, from novelty rings to mouth guards. Even Adelaide Zoo has had to issue a warning about light-up fairy floss buckets sold at its Halloween event.
It's very easy for a kid to take that button battery out and swallow it accidentally, causing really serious chemical burns and, potentially fatal.
And the risk is real. 20 children a week present at emergency departments across the country. But batteries aren't the only hazard. If your child's bucket is filled with unwrapped lollies, the advice is to bin them.
For hygiene reasons, we recommend that lollies are wrapped or in some sort of packaging.
Once the trick-or-treating is over, authorities say parents should check to ensure no dangerous gadgets have made their way home. They say cheap products that may have been purchased online pose the greatest risk. Sage advice that won't come back to haunt you. Jasmine Turlings, 7 News.
Well, Casey's back right after the break with a Highbury man with a heart of gold.
We've got a few warm spring days on the way here tonight, though. Perfect weather for some trick-or-treating.
Exclusive pictures. For the moment, a police officer's gun was grabbed during a violent attack.
7 News. Unstoppable.
For Adelaide's latest news and more, tune in to Will Goodings and David Pemberthy on 5AA Breakfast tomorrow morning. Well, time for the weather now with Casey, who joins us again from Lightsview.
And Casey, the Halloween crowd is still going through there.
Well, it appears half the suburb of Lightsview has turned out tonight for this community-run trick-or-treating event. Big crowds here, also big crowds right around the suburbs tonight as Adelaide's best haunted houses embrace the Halloween spirit. Perfect conditions for it tonight too. There's just a light breeze, still some sunshine around though, and around 21 degrees still in the city. The top today was 22.8, following an overnight low of 11.4. Now, skies statewide were mostly clear and temperatures were generally about average, except about the pastoral districts where Cooper PD reached 37 degrees. Now, a high pressure system is moving quickly into the Bight, and that's keeping conditions dry. As that starts to contract east over the next few days, we'll see northerly winds help temperatures soar, especially on Saturday. Interstate tomorrow, a shower or two, possible storm for Brisbane, showers for Sydney, cloudy and 17 the top for Melbourne. Back home for the first day of November, temperatures will be hitting the mid-30s up north, sunny and 33 degrees for Roxby Downs, 29 for Port Augusta, 24 for Whyalla and Clare, 27 for Port Pirie, 26 for Renmark, 25 for Kadina, mostly sunny and 23 for Murray Bridge, cloud clearing and 18 for Victor Harbour, partly cloudy and 20 for Kingscote and Narracourt, and grey skies and 17 the top for Mount Gambier. For the city, sunny skies tomorrow, an overnight low of 10, then a top of 24. On metro waters, southeasterly winds to 20 knots, turning easterly to 15 and seas around a metre. To fishing, and don't forget this Sunday from 7 to midday is the Onka Stomper fishing competition at Perry's Bend, Noarlunga Downs, raising funds for the Breakthrough through Mental Health Research Foundation. Now, looking at the week ahead, we're facing a spring scorcher on Saturday for Pageant Day, up to 35 degrees. A change is due that night, down to 23 on Sunday and again Monday, warming back up to 28 Tuesday, 31 on Wednesday, with showers a chance later in the week. And before I go, let's take a look at tonight's Ray of Sunshine. Today, Grant McAvoy awarded his heroes with hearts of gold.
Little medal for little cash.
The 65-year-old presented to his nearest ED a couple of weeks ago experiencing chest pain. But without knowing the Modbury Hospital didn't have a cardiac unit, the frontline workers still cared for him anyway. These handcrafted medals for them a sign of his gratitude. In the meantime, guys, it's time for me to go. Let's go trick-or-treating, hey?
I reckon the sugar's kicked in.
I don't know if Casey's making it out of there alive.
They all look very good. Now, that is all the news. We will have updates throughout the evening.
Well, the Adelaide 17 for now. It is good night.
Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.